Hello, welcome to the next episode of our wedding planning series where we are talking about the magic of marquees. And today we are joined by the lovely Liz from Blue Sky Flowers. Thank you, Liz. So do you want to jump in and let us know a bit about your business and what led you to become a wedding florist?
Absolutely, yes. Hi, Natasha. Thank you for having me. I had a career before being a florist, so I came to this quite late in careers. My second career, I thought I'd try out something different. I worked in magazines for a long time, and then just needed to do something completely different. And I was going to be a garden designer, and then decided that actually I was a bit of a fair weather garden designer, and I quite like working inside rather than outside. So I went to work for a friend of a friend who was a florist and a garden designer for a couple of years. Learned a bit of work, but I was mostly kind of marketing and stuff like that inside. But I worked in the shop occasionally, liked it, was starting to make up things when everybody else was busy. And then his business profile changed and I left. And I thought, okay, well, I can do this. This is fine. I've got a few clients. I'll find a few more people. Went back to my old interior design clients and said, if you ever need flowers. And it sort of started from there. And my husband thought I was a bit crazy and said, but 20 years later, I'm still doing it. So something worked, I suppose.
Yeah, works out well then.
Exactly. Well, I think it's okay. I think I'm all right, you know.
Okay.
I'd said to somebody the other day, I think the first 10 years of my career, floristry career, I think I could just kind of like put in a box and hide, because some of the stuff was just really awful and really kind of, not really what I would like to be known for now. And it took me a while to find my style and my look and my feel, I suppose. So, and I did a lot of contract flowers and things like that, like weekly flowers and office flowers and hotels and things like that. But I think I much prefer the wedding floristry side of things, because you're working to a particular goal and with a particular set of clients and things. And it's so much more exciting than doing the same old thing every week, you know. So that's what I love about being a wedding florist, that I get to meet lots of different people all the time, work with them, build a relationship, make their wedding work, and then on to the next one. You know, that's really nice.
And no two are ever the same, are they? So it is just...
No two are ever the same. Although, I mean, when you think about these days, when I first started, we didn't have Instagram. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have any of that kind of stuff. So you had to, if you did anything, you put an ad in a wedding magazine. And unfortunately, there's no wedding magazines left. But you put something like that in. Now, Instagram is our portfolio. That's what we have. That's what we have to curate. That's what we have to have. And that's what people expect, because they perhaps don't have time to think about being at home on the computer, looking at a website. They're doing it on the move. They're thinking about things. Oh, I'll just look it up on my phone. So to have a portfolio that's portable and on your phone all the time is perfect. It's just brilliant. And the more you put things on there that you've done, the more people think, oh, well, that's your style. And over the time, you realize that you do have a style. I didn't used to think I had one, but people say, my flea answers go, no, you have a style. It's, it's this. But I didn't realize at first, but it does evolve.
Yeah.
I think some people go into floristry and go into it for a particular reason, a particular style that they want to create. I didn't. It grew around me. My style grew from what I did and what I liked. So I have come on a long way from when I first started. And I didn't train at the beginning at all. I've done more training in the last 5 years by going to other florists, learning how they do things. You learn everything all the time. So I've gradually honed my look. And if you look at my Instagram feed now, that is pretty much what I'm about. That's my style. It's natural and gardeny, but in a kind of natural seasonal way rather than meadowy. I use a lot of flowers. I don't like sparse things with a few twiggy bits in it. I like lots of flowers, lots of expensive flowers, but it's not in your face over the top. It's that middle ground that's lush and elegant, but not crazily kind of flower on flower packed all together.
And I think your style is brilliant for that. Like you say, it is kind of the middle ground between the loose, wild side, but without being the tightly packed.
Exactly. I mean, the wedding that we did, we worked on a wedding together with Louise Perry, didn't we, a couple of years ago? And that was very much, it was outside, it was in a field, it was in a marquee. But it was still, it was natural and loose and seasonal, but it was still, there was a lot of flowers and it was still very lush. So that's a classic kind of sum up of that sort of look, I suppose.
Yeah, really beautiful. And where do you find your inspiration?
I follow a lot of other florists. I follow florists in other countries. I try not to do anything that's too trendy, on trend, like now, because it's going to date. There's always this worry that you look back at your wedding flowers, you think, oh, I did that, it's only 4 years ago, but that's not the look of now. So I'd rather have something that was pretty timeless. And I think beautiful flowers put together in a lovely seasonal way is the best way to do that. I think if it's too edgy and too, that's absolutely what people want to do. They can do what they want, but I feel if you do something that's too au courant and too now and too what the trend is now, that you're going to look back at it and think, I know when you got married. It's identifiable.
It has a timestamp on it, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like a dress. You want the dress to be quite timeless. I often have brides who've got very contemporary dresses and they look amazing. They look beautiful, and it won't date for them because it will always remind them of their wedding date. But I think if your flowers aren't right, somehow they kind of set a look and a tone, and we can all look back at the things that had jip and roses, or certain things that we used to stick in our hair, or it just it puts you in a particular sort of decade. And there aren't really any new flowers. I mean, sometimes people think, oh, well, I'll have something new because it's trendy, but actually there aren't really new flowers. It's how they're put together.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not I mean, there's always been dried flowers around, but they're put together in a completely different way now to how they were probably 30 or 40 years ago. There would have been florists working with dried flowers, but in a completely different way, in a completely different style. And we'd look at them now and go, well, that's very 70s, or that's very 80s. Whereas now, in 20, 30 years' time, they're going to go, oh, that's very, what are we now? Double 20s. I don't know what we are. We're the whatevers. We're not the 20s, because that was then. They're the second 20s. So, I just don't want to be pigeonholed as to, oh, that's that, I'd like to be a bit more variable.
What is it that you love most about being a wedding florist?
I love meeting all the people. I mean, my brides and my couples are so different from each other. They've got the one thing going for them usually is that they like flowers and they want a lot of flowers. And that's not necessarily meaning that they have a big budget, but for their budget, they want to get as many flowers as they can. £1,000 to one person can be just as important and as expensive as £5,000 to somebody else. So it's not related to money at all. Obviously as a business, the more I have to play with, the better, because I can do something bigger and better. But I'll give the same. I should have brought water up with me. I can give the same amount of attention and everything to somebody with two completely different budgets. So what I love about them is finding out their brief, finding out what they really love, what makes them tick, and then coming up with some ideas that makes their wedding a little bit unique. Looking at the venue, see what will work, see what works best for them, see if we can reuse something. Just working with them to make their day the day that kind of really is the right thing for them. So I think that's what I love, and I love seeing it all come together, and I love seeing it on the day. I love packing my van, actually. I'm not the greatest fan of actually getting everything out of the van at the other end, because it's you've worked since early morning, but it's part of the process. You have to do a bit of everything, unfortunately. Florist is not just playing with flowers, it's cleaning the buckets and cleaning the van and packing the van and unpacking the van. So it's a bit of everything, but it's anything to do with the process of creating something special for that couple,
for that particular couple.
Getting something right for them.
What would be your top tips for couples who are currently looking for a florist? So obviously there's lots of people out there. How do they narrow it down to somebody that they want to work with?
I think the best way to start is, once you've got your venue booked, you've got your date booked, probably get your photographer sorted, because that's very important. And they can only do one wedding a day, so you've got to get the right person for that. You don't want to compromise on that, because that is what you're going to look back at over the years to come. That's the most important thing. So you should do that before anything else. And then I think if you've got catering in-house and everything else like that, I think the next thing is flowers, because they will help to set the scene for the day. They'll give you a look for the day. You can work with them in terms of colours and everything else. And I think that's a very important way of just getting the sort of the feel and the atmosphere right for your wedding. And the best way to find the person to do that, the right person for you to do that, do some research.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Pinterest by all means, but don't go too madly down that rabbit hole, because you don't want to end up with a California beach look in Amersham, because it's not going to work very well. So find something that's very appropriate for you, and get some ideas from that, and sort of put them onto a board. Go, okay, that's my wish list. I quite like all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And even look at things that you don't like, and go, hate that, don't want that, don't want that. Whether it's flowers or styles or looks or whatever, you don't want urns, but you want a moon gate, or vice versa. And then start looking at things a bit closer to home. So look at Instagram, follow lots of florists, look at the venue that you're at to see if they have people on their list. Now, they might have 2 or 3 preferred florists. That doesn't mean that they're right for you. So by all means, look at them to start with, but look at their Instagram, look at what they've done at that venue before, at your time of year, and see if you like that. If you don't like that, then they're not the right people for you. But see what they've done. Then start following other florists. See if they've worked at that venue, and then just really kind of hone it down to what you like, what you don't like, and narrow it down to as few florists as you can. Try not to. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Try not to blanket email 20 florists and go, "Hi, I'm getting married. Can you help me?" Because they're not going to appreciate it. You're going to end up disappointing 19 people.
Yeah.
So try and get down to a couple of people and then say, look, this is what I'm getting married here. This is the look. This is the feel. I don't want to be prescriptive, because I want you to be creative with this. But, I don't like this and I do like that. Give them as much of an information as you can. And the most important thing is tell them your budget.
Yeah.
Tell them what your spend is, because otherwise they don't know where to start.
Yeah.
So you've got to like what they do. You've got to like, you don't have got to be best friends with them, but it helps if you like the person as well, because then you've got a better relationship and a better rapport with them. And then give them your budget and your wish list and say, what can I get of that for that?
Yeah.
Try not to expect everything, because it probably won't work, but you might be surprised if it does work. So, and then, choose your person, and then move forward with them, and don't forget to say thank you but no thanks to the other ones, because nobody likes being left hanging.
No, we don't like sitting.
It's not a good idea. I mean, the other thing, we're talking about marquees and things. The other thing about that is there are some florists who've never worked in marquees. They might work in lots and lots of venues, but they haven't worked in marquees. And they are quite specific. They are quite special places to work in, because you've got to understand that this is like walking into a great big room, the size of a ballroom, but it's completely empty. It's white. It's got nothing going on for it. There might be lighting that comes with it, but there may be nothing that comes with it at all. So think about, has that florist that you've liked on Instagram, have they worked in marquees? Do they know how to handle that? Have they only worked in hotel ballrooms?
Yeah.
So, and if you like their work, but they haven't worked in marquees, just talk to them about it honestly and say, how would you approach this? What do you think we should do? I've got this amount of budget. Where do you think I should spend it?
Yeah.
And kind of get some ideas from that, because the beauty of a marquee is you can do pretty much almost anything.
Yeah.
You're limited by probably your budget and the logistics of the marquee itself, because they're not all the same, and the day and the timing and everything else. But you can transform them into beautiful, magical places with foliage ceilings and hanging chandeliers and all this kind of stuff. Lovely archways with greenery and everything as well.
Yeah.
You can really, really go to town on them. And you're only, as I say, you're only limited by yours and your florist imagination and what you've got to spend on it.
So we touched on this briefly, but what is it about marquee or at-home weddings that you think is really special?
I think it's partly that you can do what you like, and you've got a bit more control over it. You can decide if you want a twinkly fairy light, magical woodland interior, or you can have something that's super elegant and looks like the inside of a ballroom with chandeliers and beautiful linens and things like that. You can really transform it. And you've usually got a bit more time there, because it's going to be up for a couple of days. So you could even have a Friday night welcome dinner for your family. And then on the Sunday, if it's still there and they're not taking it down until the next week, you could have a brunch in there for anyone that's staying over. It depends on the logistics and where you're, whether it's in your garden, like the one that we did in Cambridge was, whether it's in Chelmsford, whether it's in their garden, or whether it's in a venue's garden and someone's going to come and take it away.
Yeah.
But if you've got it for 3 days, why not use it?
Absolutely use it. Yeah, exactly.
You know, make the most of it, and also make that floral budget work.
Yeah.
You know, turn things around. Use Friday nights table centres on Sunday. You know, and keep the special ones for Saturday night.
Yeah.
You know, use candles. Put candles everywhere if you can do, because you can in marquees usually.
Yeah.
Because the sides aren't up, because that tends to blow them out quite quickly.
Out. Yeah.
Or it's not clear span 30 degrees
and
everything melts. We've had that too, yeah. So, and think about the weather, think about the time of year. I mean, I'm not sure many people would opt for a December marquee wedding unless they really, really, really had to. But there are ways to make it magical. Make it, you know, have heaters, have blankets for people, have all those kind of things. But, you know, the flower wise, you could still transform it as much as you can do in July as you can in December.
Talking of budget, what do you think makes the biggest impact with marquee weddings and flowers, and where should couples kind of direct or focus on with their budget?
I would probably suggest that whatever your budget is, I would probably suggest that you do bigger things, fewer bigger things than lots of little things, because you've got a big space to work with. You've got, you know, an entrance, you may have a drinks marquee or excuse me, or you've got a garden that you're going into first, then you're going into the marquee. So, you know, make a big entrance if you can, have something in the ceiling if you can, and almost forego much on the tables if that's where your budget has to go. If you want to have something, so as people walk in, they go, wow, that looks amazing. Yeah. And then on the tables, you've got the food, you've got the drink, people could talk to each other, you know, but they've still got this kind of stuff going on around them. Yeah. If you've got the money for things on the tables as well, then bring it down a bit, have low things. So if you've got something in the ceiling, have something lower on the table, so people have got something to look at down below them there. Yeah. Doesn't get in the way of talking to everyone over the food. But, you know, if you're getting married at, you know, a church, first of all, or another venue, and then you're coming into the marquee space, have something at the church perhaps that you could bring over, like urns or some sort of structure, or a deconstructed arch maybe that you can move if it's possible. Yeah. Put that at the entrance, or put it behind the top table. Try and reuse things, but again, go for bigger things, because lots of little things in a big space like that will just get mixed.
They just get lost, don't they? Especially, I think, marquees with big white sides and, you know, the ceiling just consumes the space then if you haven't got anything that with any height. I think
exactly. And it's amazing, you can make something up and you think, wow, this is big, and then you get it into a marquee and you go, okay, it's not as big as I thought it was. You know, it just disappears into nothing. You know, we've had great big urns that we've created in a church. We just about can get them back on the van to move them. And you think, God, this is, you know, this is going to be amazing. It's going to be massive. And you get it into the market, and it goes, okay, it's just halved in size, because it's never going to be as big as it will be somewhere else. So, you know, go as and take the lead from your florist, because they will have different ideas. It doesn't have to be urns or a ceiling hanging. It could be anything. It could be something else. So take the lead from them and what they've done before and what works for that marquee. I think that's the main thing. Absolutely.
Brilliant, thank you. Some great advice there. And again, we've touched on how hot marquees can be with the melted candles. Does that affect the kind of displays you can have, or the flowers that can be used?
You're right, you definitely need to bear that in mind. So if you know you're going into May, June, July, and it's likely to be hotter than it would normally be, and once you've got people in there, you've got the sun coming down, it may not, you might get hot during the day, you might not be in there until 5 o'clock, and by then it's warmed up a lot, it's like a sauna. So think about that, but make sure they're in water, they're in the sort of containers and receptacles that can be topped up if necessary. Maybe don't put them out until the last minute. I mean, I remember on that wedding, we were waiting until everyone was like, okay, the coaches arrived, right, quick, get everything out on the table, because we didn't want to put anything in there. And even though we waited until the last minute, still things, you know, got hot and the candles melted. But just make sure there's a lot of water around. You can refresh things, spritz them as well. And your florist will have a better idea about what will last in the heat, what will be more resilient. So, you know, as long as everything's conditioned well beforehand and it's looked after and prepared properly, things will last. But there are some things that just don't, like, even if they're in a bucket of water, some things just will not like it in the heat. and they will go over. So bear that in mind. But I mean, you can have, you know, I've had rainy days in August in Marquees, and I've had really hot days in August, same weekends. So
that's
you
the
can
one
go from
thing you can't control, isn't it? Is the weather.
Yeah.
The weather. When you're planning a wedding, it's literally the one thing that.
Yeah.
No
Even a wedding
how
planner
well
can't organise
out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If only, God.
Yeah. If only we could
But yeah.
that. And from your experience and you know, all the weddings that you've done previously, part of the ethos for my business, the Wildflower Wedding Planner, is creating an atmosphere really that is really warm and inviting. And I always kind of describe it as like being a big Sunday dinner with all your, you know, your favourite people, and that just really warm and inviting atmosphere.
Yeah.
From your experience, what touches can couples add to create that, and in a marquee setting, because it can be
specifically in a marquee? Yeah, exactly. I think if you need to, again, depending on the time of year, regardless of the weather, if we're talking, you know, out of necessarily hot season, you know, think about heaters, think about having things that, even if they're not on all the time, but just make sure it's warmed up beforehand. It's probably an added cost, and it's probably something that you're thinking about. Do I need it? Do I need it? Take a view from the marquee people, because they'll know how many people in a marquee will heat it up as well. So you may just need some on in the morning, then you can kind of turn them off. Likewise, if it's going to be too hot, open the sides up and then close it down later on. But in terms of kind of creating an atmosphere, candles, you can never have too many candles. I don't think. Absolutely, candles everywhere, on the tables, at the entrance maybe. So, because, you know, people will go outside to smoke, and they'll go out and they'll wander around. So have something that they can find their way back to if you're in a field. Have loads of candles and things around, you know, at the entrance, lanterns around the entrance. Have fairy lights. I mean, anything like that will just make it feel much cozier. You want to bring, it's nice having a space, but you kind of want to bring that roof down a bit, because they're very big spaces. They can feel as if they're going to be cold, even though they're not. They feel a bit kind of too open. So it's not like a beautiful room where, you know, you can pull the blinds and pull the curtains and cozy up. You can't do that in a marquee. You get what you get. So you've got to kind of create it. You can have baskets of blankets around for people as well, things like that, which is really nice. You can have, I mean, even thinking about the colours of the flowers, you know, something white is beautiful, but it's not as warm and inviting as something that's more colourful, like sort of, you know, rich, dark jewel colours and things like that. That's sort of visually more inviting, visually warmer. So you could even sort of trick it that way, and even if you're not going to have heaters and things like that, but you can certainly sort of warm up the feel of it, warm up the look of it by what you put on the tables. Have a coloured cloth, have coloured napkins, you know, all these kind of touches that will just kind of take that white steely feel away from an inside of a marquee, because you know, nobody's created a coloured marquee yet. I haven't seen a coloured marquee. No. You can have linings and things like that, but generally they're big white spaces. So you want to try and, you know, make them a bit cozier if you can, certainly.
Amazing. Thank you. And a bit of a not off conversation, but what is your favourite flower?
My favourite flower is, you know, it probably changes every month. At the moment, I'm particularly enjoying sweet peas. Because they smell amazing and they are such gorgeous colours. I also, my favourite flower, that florists that know me will just laugh when I say this, but it's a scabious. It's a blackberry scoop scabious, which is like this little kind of pom-pom on this little kind of thin. And it gets into most of my, in the season, it gets into most of my flower. And I show it to people and they go, oh, that's really nice. I go, yep, that's going in. You like that, you know. And then there's O'Hara roses, which are my favourite roses, and they smell incredible. And I like a big hydrangea. There's too many, but probably garden roses and sweet peas and scabious. That'll be it.
Beautiful. All those together.
What's yours?
Mine,
do you have a favourite
again,
one?
it changes. Anything.
What's that behind you? Is that stock?
Stock, yes. They're looking a bit sorry for themselves now, but
That's all right. They're far enough away. I can't see them.
My supermarket.
But they're amazing.
Don't judge.
The smell. The smell of them is incredible.
Yes, yeah, they are. Yeah, and this is quite a small office, so in here it's like I just love it having something in here.
Yeah.
But yeah, sweet peas are a favourite of mine. Dahlias I love.
Oh yeah.
Nice
Love
dahlias.
those.
No, again, it just changes. Every time I see a florist post a picture, I'm like, that's my new favourite.
I want that. I want that. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Well, that's all the questions. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you, your details will all be on my website, so they'll be able to click through to get in touch with you directly.
Yeah, absolutely.
But thank you so much for your time. It's really great to
Pleasure.
speak to you.
Thank you.
Really lovely to hear more about you and your business. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I know it's nice. It's nice. I love doing these kind of things because it just opens it up to different people, and I could clearly talk for England. So
well, no, it's really good to hear more about you. So thank you very much.